So it looks like Facebook isn't kicking me out this time. Third time lucky. Here we go. Let's give it a minute or two to make sure it doesn't kick me out again. Okay, fingers crossed it's working okay. I'm not going to say too much too soon because this is Facebook and who knows what's going to happen. Hi Jennifer. I've just seen your post and replied to it. I've put the files in, I've put the instructions in the files, so you should be able to see it in there. Hi Helen. Oh, I bet you're glad you're not watching the boys playing lacrosse when it's pouring down. So, this is the book we're starting tonight. It should only take us 3 weeks maximum. It's a little bit repetitive, but it's a really good book. Someone I spoke to at weekend said her friend wanted to, not speaking weekend before, her friend wanted to have a go, but she's never made the book before and she didn't want anything too complicated. So hopefully this is a nice, easy, or not too complicated introduction. So for the whole book, I've used 2 sheets of A4 grey board. I've put 20 sheets of A4 cardstock. I'll be honest, I don't think I used that many, but I'd lost count. So I've used one 12 months paper collection, but there's 10 sheets of 12 by 12 in that, and they are double-sided. And then I've used 1 packet of 3 by 4 inch, they call them pocket cards, pre-cut cutter parts, call them whatever you want. 1 lot of the ephemera, which is the little ladybirds and stars and trees and hearts, and 1 packet of the labels kit. So the labels kit is, so you've got the rectangular shaped, large and small, with lines and without lines, and then you've got the circles with lines and without lines, so you've got something to write on. Although I found that the lines were a bit small for writing on. And by the looks of things, my screen has frozen. Is it still working for anybody else? Oh, no. So, yeah, there are lines on it, but obviously, like I say, they are very, very close together, and I couldn't write within the lines. So let's make a start. So the first thing we're doing is we'll get our grey board, and with the grey board, our covers are 6.5 inches by 5 inches. Now, where's my pencil gone? So if we look across here, so 6.5 inches is there, and there. Are we all happy now the children have gone back to school? Or would we rather be at home? So we need one at 5 inches and one at 10. Now the reason I've said 2 sheets of A4 was I was hoping I could get it out of 1 sheet of A4. But the leftover bit was only 1 3/4 inches, and it just felt a little bit too small for the spine, because you know I don't do small spines, they have to be chunky for me to fit everything in. So I'll just do this, and then top tip, if you're ever doing a live, don't tidy up in the afternoon, because you can never find what you've just been using. In fact, I think my hubby's borrowed my craft knife or something. Never mind, it's a good job I have a spare. So just line that up, and then lots of small cuts. Don't try and do this in one go with your craft knife, because you probably blunt your knife. There's more chance of it moving. Not quite. Okay, so just move this over. So it's better to do lots of cuts down. Yeah, that's nearly through. The other way of doing this is if you've got a trimmer with not a blunt blade, but one that's really been used a lot for paper, you can actually score it with your blade until it goes through, and then just finish off with your knife. But unfortunately, about 5 minutes ago, I nudged my trimmer that I use for that, and the blades fell out and it's gone under a cupboard, so I didn't have time to move everything to pull the cupboard out. There we go. So if you're being frugal with your grey board, you could use that as your spine, but as you can see from mine, yeah, it didn't quite go long, it wasn't quite chunky enough for mine. So I'll just pop that there, move that to one side. What you can do with this is, if you cut it up into smaller pieces, which I didn't think about until afterwards, when I put this on the front, I'd have probably been better putting the grey board underneath just to lift it up a little bit, but a bit late now. But it is good. Instead of using foam pads as well to give height on not just your mini books, your scrapbooks, your cards, whatever, you don't have to go and buy your foam pads. You can just chop that up and use that. So for the spine, we're going at 2 inches. Oh dear, Helen, what have your boys been doing if you've been shouting at them? Hi, Diana. I probably shouldn't try and read while I'm doing this, but I know my fingers are quite a way away from the blade, so I should be all right. There we go. I don't know about anybody else, but I've got a drawer of offcuts of grey board, which is why I've started using them for to lift things up on my projects, because I don't see the point in paying for foam pads when I've got all that excess grey board I can use. And if you save money on not buying foam pads and using your extra, your bits of grey board, it just means you've got more money for good craft stuff. Oliver wasn't listening to his dad, too busy on a scrap. Well, I am so glad that my boys have grown up, and they were kind of pretty much quite older teenagers before the screens came out. So now I've used some of this Tyvek for something else, which is why I'm just going to trim it down because it is a little bit too big for what I wanted. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to use it like that and put it on. So I'm just going to trim my black card down. In fact, I'm going to do it the other way. Now I'm going to use my double-sided I had some thick double-sided, but I think I've run out. So when I'm doing this with Tyvek, you want to make sure that it is completely adhered. It doesn't matter if there's a little gap, but I don't want huge gaps on my card. And I do like this tape that's easy to tear, because if you can tear it, you don't have to use your scissors, which means they don't get gunked up as much. So is anybody crafting along, or are you just all watching for the things that I do wrong so you can do it without doing that? Because I've allegedly already made my mistakes with the prototype. However, we shall see. So there's my Tyvek. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to poke the end off and then line the Tyvek up with the card underneath and then push it down so that it's stuck at that end. Then when you pull it back, it's easier to then put the sharp edge of your knife under the next bit, pull it back, and this is where I need to get my fatter double-sided, because you're only taking 1 or 2 pieces off rather than lots of little ones like this. So I've got them moved out of the way so I can roll my Tyvek back, make sure it lines up, and then just grab your tape and just roll it back out the way. So your Tyvek is well and truly stuck to your black card. So I'm just going to trim off the edges. There's not that much there, so it should be okay. So what we need to do now, if we put our spine piece in the middle, I'm just going to get my 1/8 of an inch spacers. So I'm going to get my glue, which I've decanted down into a smaller bottle just because the smaller bottle is easier to squeeze. So I'm just going to pop that in the middle and hold that in place. Like that. And I'm just going to line these two up before I put this on one side. So I can go a bit further up here with my glue. And line and just hold that there while your glue sets. And then pick your hinges up, pop them on the other side of your spine. I didn't want the same size then. And again, pop your glue on. And turn that over and just hold that in place for a minute or two. Okay. And I find that if you put your glue on your grey board and put that down, it saves getting glue everywhere. A lady did say to me the other week, oh no, I just put glue all over my Tyvek and then put my grey board on top. But to me, you're going to end up, these bits could gunk up and stick together, which is not what you want really. But I guess it's whatever works for you. So now I need to bend this up and I'll spin that round and bend that up again. Now, because it is only a narrow piece, I'm just going to get narrower tape. And I'm just going to pop that on there. And I'll do it like this. Oh, that was a rumble of thunder. I don't know if anybody else heard that. So I'm just going to take the backing off this tape. She says, and then just roll that over and secure that down. And then same on the other side. And just roll that over. So you've got a nice finish on that. And then what once I've moved all my rubbish away, if you get one of your ball tools, and if you just gently rub in where the gap is, it will just encourage it to fold in the right way. If only it was as easy to encourage your kids to do their chores, as simple as that. There we go. So I'm just going to leave that out of the way for now. Right, and then what I'm going to do is, where's my cardstock? have a quick catch up on reading because I can't do both at the same time. Same old, same old. Hi Denise, hi Nicole. I'm wondering if I can make this again with the soccer papers. Probably, because the pages are 6 inches. So if you had a 12 by 12 and cut it in half, that would give you 2 lots. So you would, each 12 by 12 would then give you enough to do that. So yes, I think you would be able to do it with that, Helen. Failing that, you can always buy some more. Hi Wendy, hi Lynn. So now it'll go that way. I need to put this and cover the outside of the cardstock, the grey board even. Right, just bear with me one moment. I'm just going to shut the door because it's getting quite loud with the thunder. So now I'll close the door, chances are it's going to stop thundering. So, because I only need to cover that bit, I'm going to actually cut my A4 cardstock down to A5. There's no point wasting cardstock when it can be used for other things. So, I'm going to pop this on here. So I'm going to put glue all over the back of the grey board. Making sure I go right up to the edge. Then I'm going to line that up. Roughly central on the black cardstock. Then we need to miter the corners. So I've had hubby making me a tool because I was getting really annoyed at not being able to miter the corners properly. So I've got him to make the, plus it keeps my fingers away from the knife, from the blade. So we'll put that up. I won't worry about this being too tall. I'll score down. And I'm just going to rip that off. And then again, just here. And so just hold that in place. Line your knife up. And take your corner off. Then I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided on there, just to hold that in place while the glue sets. I'm going to trim that off because I don't need all that. So I'm going to put my glue on here. Hi Lynn. And then if you fold it up, really good crease into the bottom there, and then roll it over and burnish it down. And get your bone folder. And if you've put too much glue in, you'll see it squidge out when you push down with your bone folder. And then I just, on this corner bit, just push it down with your bone folder to get a nice, crisp corner. Then again, glue on here. Take your double-sided off. And again, just roll that up, and it just meets like that, and it gives you a nice neat corner at the bottom there, and it protects your fingers when you're using a sharp knife. So again, take your double-sided off, roll that up, and just burnish that down. And like I say, a bit too much glue on, it'll just squidge out. So again, flip that round and we'll do the other one while we're here. So glue all over. Pop that on. Hold it in place. And when it's stuck firmly, put the corner guide on. Like that. And it's just a bit wide, so I'm going to trim that down. Take that off. And then again on this corner, take the corner away, and then pop this on here. Oops. And then we'll just pop the glue on. And take the double-sided off. And just fold that up and then roll that over the top and burnish it down with your bone folder. And then again, just go in with the corners. Take the double-sided off. Or glue, and then fold that up, and it will meet like that. Fold it over, and then just, now if I'd measured my black cardstock, I'd have done 1 inch all the way around, but as you can tell I just did it by eye. But it does give you a really neat corner, with the exception of the glue splodging out there like that. So I don't know whether any of you would find them useful. I know I found it, my corners are a lot neater than they were previously because they just got in the way. So I'm just looking at the instructions that I put up, and I haven't written down the size of the spine. So let's have a quick look. So I know my spine is going to be, so it's a 5-inch book. So I'm going to do my spine at 4.5 inches high, just because it gives a little bit of a gap at the top and bottom, and it means you don't get your pages all dog-eared. So it's 1/4 inch between each hinge. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is how I work a spine out. So I know that is 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. So each one of those is 1. This bit is 1/4. And then I did 1/4 at the front and 1/4 at the back. And then, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 8.5, 10.5. So it's not going to be a full A4 sheet. So I need to get my trimmer. So I want my cardstock to be 4.5. Is it 5? I've just measured this and I can't remember. Yeah, 4.5 inches high. And then I'm going to score it . So I want a 2-inch overlap here and a 2-inch overlap here, just so it gives a good hold. So I'm going to start at 2 inches. So, and then I've got 1/4 inch. And then my spine, sorry, my hinges are 1/2 inch up and 1/2 inch down. So it's 1/2 inch up and 1/2 inch down. So there's my 2 inches. Oh, this shows up. That's the top of my spine. And that's the bottom of the spine. So again, I've got my 1/2 inch gusset. And then I've got 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch down for the spine, the hinge. Oops. Are these showing up on screen? So again, I've got a 1/2 inch gusset, 1/4 inch gusset, sorry, then 1/2 inch for the hinge, and another 1/2 inch for the other hinge. So 1/2 inch for the gusset, and then 6.5, and then 7, and there's my hinge again. Okay, is this showing up okay for people? Because it's really difficult for you to see when I'm scoring on black card. So again, I've got 1/2 inch. No, I haven't. I've got 1/4 inch which is the gusset, and then 1/2 inch and another 1/2 inch is the hinge going up. And then I'm just going to do another 1/2 inch just up to the edge of that. So I can just trim that off. And 2 inches, trim that off. So you can see the larger gaps are what the hinges are going to be, and the smaller gaps are going to be where your gussets are. So I think it shows a little bit better for you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold these back and burnish them down. So I need to fold that one. Now when you're doing this, if you make sure that before you burnish it, it is straight top and bottom, that will give you a really good strong hinge. Okay, so that will go up like that. So again, I need to fold that way and make sure it's lined up. And then fold it back the opposite way. Burnish it down. Fold it over like that. Okay, those of you that are crafting along, Helen, are you keeping up? So fold that over again, just line it up. If you keep that lined up as you go along, it just means your hinges will be straight, and we don't want any wonky hinges, because a wonky hinge means you might end up with a wonky book. So just pop them in. Oops, and burnish it down. And we'll fold it over the other way. Line it up again and burnish that down. So we've now got that one. Pull it out straight, burnish it down, and then fold the other one over that way. I wish there was an easy way to do hinges, but I think that's the easiest we're going to get it. So get my little bits of tape just to hold it until the glue holds. I'm just going to put a little bit in the middle of each hinge. Like that. And then I'll start at one end. Pop the glue on. Might be easier to take the tape off before I put the glue on. just burnish that down, give it a good rub with your bone folder. Then again, take your tape off first. Put your glue on, fold it over, and again rub that down. Tape off and pop your glue on, fold that over, and again, oops, good rub down with your bone folder, tape off, glue on, fold that over, and again burnish that down. And then on the last one, again, glue on, fold it over, and burnish down. So just twist your hinges so they do lie flat. And then I'm just going to trim this bit off because I don't need all that excess. So now that will lie flat, and that will just go in the middle there. So what I'm going to do, I am going to glue this down, but I'm also going to put tape across just to hold it in place until the glue sets. So that'll just keep the hinges in place until the glue sets hard, or solid I should say. I'm going to pull the tape off. And then put your glue all over. And then I'm just going to line that up. So you've got equal amounts on either side, and then just burnish that down. Glue everywhere. And give that a good burnish down. And then you'll see there, oops. So you've now got your 5 hinges, and then very gently with your, because you've already put your dints in, if you just gently rub up and down it with a bigger ball, the biggest ball tool you've got, which might be that one, and just push that down and encourage it into the groove between your spine and your cover. I start with the biggest and then go down to the next size, just so that, and you'll see when you're doing it, it will make the other page lift slightly, and that's a good sign because it shows that you're just gently stretching that paper to go into the groove, so that when it folds up, it's going to be all neat and tidy. So I'm going to resist and not fold it just yet. I'm going to leave it like that until maybe next week. But I'm just going to leave it, let it set, let the glue I'm going to say harden, but let the glue set, and then flip it over. You've got one big background. Now when you've put your, there is a little line there and there, but when you put your papers on front and back, you're not going to see those. So I'm just going to move that out of the way before I start trying to fold the hinges. Now the paper that I'm using, like I say, it's called 12 months, which I thought it would be a page for every month, but it's not. So on your front page, you've actually got the stripy design on the back, which is great because it means it's like an extra. You probably wouldn't use the front page, although I might have used that bit, but that's another page that you can use. So this one's got a cat, a ladybird, a fox, a penguin, a rabbit, a butterfly. So it's all, I think that's a frog, all different small animal heads on there. I don't know if it can pick it up any better if I lift it further up. And then on the other side is a pink with white stripe, although it did take me a while because these white stripes, they're done freehand because I couldn't get it to line up, but it did take me a while to work that out. The second one is flowers and rainbows and tiny butterflies. So again, quite small print and blue splodge on the back. On the next one, there's eyes, there's just random shapes on this one. Some of them I can make out like little triangles and squares, and some of them are just blotches. And on the back of that is red paper with, depending on how you're feeling, it's either white seagulls or white love hearts. I've picked it up a couple of times, and yeah, sometimes I see seagulls, sometimes I see love hearts. Then the next paper is got words on it. So you've got hey, lol, joy, love, okay, hi, go. But they are quite small words. And then on the back, it's like a tealy colour with white. It's a nice pastel background on that one. On this one, it's like leaves of flowers, but it's just the petal shape, not an actual flower as such. And the back of that is blue with other like little windows on it. So that's quite a, again, there's nothing in your face about any of these patterns. This one is all different leaves. So you've got blue leaves, pink leaves, green leaves, orange leaves, blue leaves, ferny bits. So that's that one with pink random lines on the back. As I say, don't try and use your ruler to cut up these because they are done, I presume, freehand, because they don't line up with any rulers. And this one, again, we've got planets, we've got mountains, flowers, crowns, clouds, lightning, stars. Quite a random selection on this one. Yeah, and then on the back it's like an orangey colour with lines and stripes on. Then this one is all flowers. So you've just got different coloured flowers. I'm not going to say, I did think of cutting some of these out, but then I changed my mind. And on the back, this is white, but it's like someone's loopy writing on the back in black. Again, you've got pink and blue flowers, a few leaves on that one as well. Quite nice. On the back, it's like someone's trying to draw a noughts and crosses. But again, you can use either side. And then on the last sheet, again, you've got leaves, you've got a plant pot, you've got mountains, flowers, be brave, not my day, had a few of those recently, good vibes, ooh la la, love, a lion with roar over its head. So lots of little, but it's quite nice to have little tiny patterns. And then the yellow or mustardy colour with hand-drawn crosses on the back. So what I've done, I'll turn that one over, I actually cut, because your pages are all portrait and they're all just under 6 inches across, I cut my papers straight down at, I think it was 5 7/8, so that you make the most of your papers. So like that, and then you can just put them on. I did the stripe that way on this one, but you cut it to 5 7/8 and they will go on each page. Okay, so if you get the kit, you also get these. So these are the ephemera that don't want to come out. So it's a lot of cats with sunglasses on, flowers, hearts, a bicycle which is really cute, but I can't find it on any of the papers. Again, flowers, caterpillar, leaves, an alarm clock, a penguin, cup of coffee, could do one of them sometimes. I quite like the little frog. But the idea with these is you don't have to sit and fussy cut them all, which is great. You've got a little one-eyed monster, not quite sure what he's doing. But again, so you've got all these die cuts that you can just use. It was a step too far to cut those flowers and creatures out because they are really, really tiny. So let's have a quick look. See if I can. Yes, you do like don't like fussy cutting. Hi Nancy. Oops. But yeah, if you don't mind fussy cutting, you could go around the edge and take the white edge off, but I quite like that white edge because it does stand out. Some of the papers are quite fussy. And then they call them pocket pages. So if I take that one again, that's your front sheet, but you've got a stripy design on the back. That I've cut out for the front of my book. Again, they're all double-sided. You can use, I think, yeah, I've cut her out. But then you get some like this, which it's already got the tag put on, but it's got lines on, and they are quite good. So you can actually use that as a journaling card and write on it. If not, you turn it over and use that side. Again, you've got a lot of the backs coordinate with the backs of the papers. Love always wins. Depends what the argument is. Again, lines, use that for your journaling. It's very affirmational. You are loved no matter how you feel, which sometimes we need to be reminded of. And again, just loopy on the back. Today is a new day, with florals on the back. Live life in full bloom, with the random icons on. You complete me with the things. Good morning. Debatable sometimes. And it's got the other words on the back. So if you don't want these, you can just turn them over and use the other side. Work in progress. That's been me this week. And again, the splodges on the back. All of me loves all of you. Yeah, depends. And your florals on the back. Hello weekend. Always. Love grows. And you got your florals on the back. And I think I've missed one. No, I haven't. You're my definition of perfect. And then just for fun. And I have missed one. So you've got all the when I say plain, the patterned, I cut her out because I figured she was easy, and I cut her out because she is quite easy to cut out. You've got your journaling ones, you've got your wordy ones. I mean, you could just use these for your photo mats. And again, you don't need to use that. And just turn it over. If there's something that you really don't like, just turn it over. But yeah, you've got quite a lot of different things. I mean, that you could fold in half and put little photographs in the middle of it. But I'll see how I get on with that. So that's your page cards. So we'll be using some of them. So if you've got a collection that's got 3x4 cut aparts, they can work just as well with that. And then these are our labels, which, like I said, they come in a variety of colours. You have the same size, the plain ones that you can write on, and some with lines on, but the lines are really, really close together. I don't think I could stay within the lines on that one. again, you've got the large labels, you've got medium labels with lines on and without lines on, and then you've got teeny tiny labels. You might be able to fit a date on there. I'm not very good with this. And then the circles with and without the lines. Again, I tried and can't write on state within the lines, so there we go. So that's where we're up to now. So we've got the covers, the hinge all put together. We put that to one side and not bend it, I promise. So next week we're going to do the pages and we'll get them made up. There's 5 pages, so we'll get those made up next week easily, and then we'll start with the flaps and pockets. Like I say, pockets at the bottom. There's a couple of concertina folded photo holders, slightly bigger than the 3x4, which means that you can fit 5 3x4 photographs on there and just pop that back inside. And so you've got your flaps, and each one has a pull out and you can put your 6x4 photographs on there and slide that back inside. So next week we'll work on, I will update the instructions that I've put in the group because I've completely missed off the hinges, so I will update that in group later. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I will see you back here next week with the pages. Like I say, it's quite a quick and easy book, but it is, if you've not crafted for a while, or you've not made mini books for a while, or you're brand new to it, it's quite an easy one to start with, before we get on to the interactive one that is half done, and it's going okay at the minute, so that's all I'm going to say on it. So yeah, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you all back here next week. There are still a couple of kits in the shop if you want to use these papers, and I'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.